Well, that's it. It's official. There is no way Elon's pay package will pass the shareholders vote coming up later this week. That's at least according to all the Wall Street experts and analysts out there. So let's take a look at what they're saying. I'll tell you exactly what I think about what they're saying, and I'll let you know exactly whether or not I think this vote is in jeopardy or not. Just make sure you like the video if you like getting the truth without the hype. All right, so I know the vote's coming up. I know it's contentious here. I know that I covered it a few weeks ago, maybe a week ago or so. I'll put that video right up here if you want my in-depth thoughts on that. Actually, there was a lot of controversy in that one because I think some folks made some conclusions that maybe I thought a certain thing, maybe I thought a certain way. Hopefully I explained it better, especially if you watch all the way till the end. Anyways, the video's up there. But let's hear what Wall Street has to say, what the analysts and all those other folks are thinking in regards to the vote.
Talking Tesla, this has been an area of content for a lot of shareholders here. Got shareholder vote coming up on the 13th. Let's bring in Caroline Wood, senior markets correspondent here. Caroline, you look at this stock and all the commentary and headlines that are coming out. It's like the retail investors versus institutional for this pay package. I mean, you got anything else for us? Because it seems like no matter what happens, it's going to be, good for one side and not good for the other.
Yes, I think that's a good way to put it. And it's been such a hot button issue and one of many overhangs on Tesla's stock. So at least one of the overhangs could potentially be solved for on Thursday. As you said, that's the shareholder meeting. Obviously, the $56 billion pay package is really the big point of contention here. And yes, there's a lot of mixed commentary from analysts about what's going to happen. And then there's, mixed opinions on if Elon Musk should be paid this $56 billion in pay package that was already approved. I think that's important to note in 2018. But Musk did tweet on Saturday that roughly 90% of retail shareholders voted in favor of his compensation package. But of course, he needs buy-in from institutional shareholders as well. And we know he won't be getting that from Norway's 1.7 trillion.
All right, so right there, I think that's no surprise to any of us. Obviously, we know retail's all for the package for a variety of different reasons. From he's owed it, he's done a great job, it was already put out there, all those other things of that nature. And I would agree with you guys completely there on that particular take. But we have to understand as shareholders, and this is just something not only applies to Tesla, but to all other stocks, you have to have institutional investor support. They own too much, they carry too much sway. And more importantly, they're the ones who will take Tesla to those multi-trillion-dollar, potential market caps in the future. It's not going to be us as retail shareholders. So I just kind of want to make sure we understand that distinction, regardless of how this vote goes here. Obviously, we'll talk a little bit more about that here in just a second. In terms of how stocks work, this is why institutional buyers are so important. Not necessarily on a vote like this, but we're talking about becoming a 2 trillion, 3 trillion, and above market caps. You start getting into those, you have to have institutional buyer backing in order to get those sorts of market caps. Retail cannot push it here. So although retail may be able to push this over the finish line in regards to his pay, as we move forward, that's not going to be possible anymore. It's going to be institutions that are going to do that. So I think we're going to see a very different pay package in the future here. But in regards to this one, we might be able to get over the finish line. But again, the numbers are a lot closer than I think. Otherwise, Tesla would not be advertising about them. And other things of that nature would not be happening if this was in the bag and nothing to worry about.
Sovereign wealth fund over the weekend. It said it will vote against ratifying the pay package. It's concerned about the size, the structure, dilution, among other things. That's Tesla's 8th biggest shareholder, and they, of course, voted against it in 2018 as well. Also, California's public employees retirement system opposes it as well. That being said, longtime Tesla bull and shareholder Ron Barron wrote an open letter not too long ago in support of Musk. He thinks he earned it. He deserves it. We're getting mixed opinions from analysts, as I said, about the outcome as well. Bernstein, who the analyst there, has an underperform rating and a $120 price target on Tesla shares. This puts it into perspective. But he thinks it's unlikely to pass shareholder vote and that investors may be underestimating the risk that it's actually rejected. Says around 25% of eligible voting shares are held by either passives who are likely to follow the proxy advisor's no opinion or institutionals who have publicly announced their decision to vote no, points out that Tesla has never seen more than 63% voter turnout in any shareholder vote, and says even assuming that's higher at 75%, Tesla would need over 73% of the unaccounted for voters to vote yes for the pay package to pass. So
it'll be interesting to see if we can get that number up over 75% or so. I don't know. Typically, voter turnouts are low. Even in the U.S. in regards to presidential elections, you'd think a lot more people who are eligible to vote would vote, but the numbers just don't support that for a variety of different reasons that, this isn't the place for that. So I'm curious to see, although we, especially those folks watching this channel are super into it, that doesn't mean everybody else that owns Tesla stock, maybe through a mutual fund, maybe through just a basket of stocks that their, advisor put them in. Whatever the case is there, are they going to vote those shares or not? Especially if this is just one of, 10, 12, 20 stocks that they own, and they're not really following this as closely as they do other things in life in general. So that'd be interesting to see. I can't wait to see the actual data once it comes out here.
It did talk about the impact if it is.
Oh, also, if the numbers are low, like she said, like in terms of turnout numbers are low, that works against Elon because those institutional voters will vote. They will vote. It's that, can the rest of the shareholders step up and vote as well? Yeah, if we get a lower number, in the 60s, obviously that does not bode well for this pay getting approved. So I cannot argue with that. Or I guess I could argue that argument, but you guys get what I'm saying there. I'm not going to disagree with that particular take because, the people out of the percentage that vote, that most likely, and that number, the percentage of, retail versus institutional gets larger and slants towards institutional, the less and less that voting number is because they're guaranteed to vote. It's everybody else that's more passive in regards to that, or may not know how to vote, or may forget, or, have life going on and everything else. If you don't own $100 billion worth, it's not nearly on your radar as it is, somebody else as a fund who that's all they do for work is that, there's already a tasker that they've already done and completed there. So it'll be interesting to see how those numbers fall out and where kind of it shakes out.
Projected says Tesla stock could be down 5% or more amid fears that Musk might actually walk. Now, Dan Ives is more bullish, says he expects the pay package will be overwhelmingly reapproved, but does admit that there are overhangs to the stock and says that, Elon Musk has to be crystal clear that autonomous and FSD is key to Tesla's future. He needs to recommit as CEO for the next 3 to 5 years because investors are really questioning the balancing act. Can he do all of these things at once? So there's a lot of opinions floating around out there. Tesla share.
All right. So in regards to that, I think that's absolutely true. I don't think that affects this vote. We'll talk about what I think is going to happen with this vote here in just a second. But any future pay package, especially since you're going to have institutional shareholders really, really bearing down on that board, not only for disclosure to make sure they do the pay package correctly this time, so that way there's no disputes in court and anything else that can go anywhere, but in regards to his attention and his focus being on Tesla, that is going to be demanded as part of that pay package. They didn't have the votes and they didn't have everything back then, and they didn't have near the institutional holders back then that they have now. And that is going to be demanded of him, especially given kind of all the chaos that's kind of come around the past couple of years with Tesla in regards to him and him having, kind of interest everywhere. I'm not saying he hasn't handled it well, better than everybody else could, but that doesn't mean shareholders are going to approve that in the future there or be comfortable with that degree of, you're kind of being spread across so many different companies. He's the only CEO that's really doing this. It's really, really unique. But I have this feeling, again, that institutional shareholder base is going to carry a lot of weight in the next pay package that comes. And I think as a shareholder, as a pure Tesla shareholder, that is good for us as shareholders in that next package if they're able to build in, however the heck they're able to do it, some sort of, a way to keep him focused on Tesla in general and make Tesla the number one, and not allow him to kind of just play this in-between game of, I'm going to be all in Tesla when I want to, or at least give that perception. And then other times I'm going to give this perception that maybe I'm flirting over here, to kind of, whatever narrative he's trying to fit at the time there. So definitely think that's going to be in there long term, but short term here, it's not going to have anything to do with this vote.
Under pressure ahead of this shareholder meeting, down about 1% today. And as you said, down about 30% year to date.
Yeah, Caroline, 2024 has been a horrible year for this company. And frankly, the news flow that I follow a lot has been pretty negative on this name for quite a while. Here's something they don't talk about. Number one selling car in the world. Is it the Toyota Corolla? Is it the Toyota RAV4? Nope. Tesla Model Y, #1 selling car in the world. And it's an EV. It's not even an internal combustion engine. And that said, this company is working to lower the prices to get down to that 25,000 level that they keep working towards, with everything else they have going on. All these things, this has been a horrible chapter for this company. Is there anything positive that we should be looking for? Is it?
I have no idea where this guy's going with this. I don't know. He just started off saying there is a lot of negative news, which there has been. I can't say that the sentiment, a lot of it self-induced, not all of it, but a lot of it self-induced by Elon in regards to the negative sentiment and the kind of negative noise around Tesla. Again, not all of it, just some of it. But yeah, it is the #1 selling car vehicle. Those are facts. That means the business is performing. Obviously, in regards to margins and profitability and stuff like that, that's all been going down. So I think when you correct that, and remember, he's talking from a talking heads perspective on one of these shows. When you get to the no kidding institutional level investor or very, very high level, not traders, very, very high level investor there, their concern is not all the noise around Tesla. It is a concern. That's not the concern. The concern is the margins getting lower and profitability getting lower. And does Tesla have the ability to turn it around anytime soon? That's what they're worried about in regards to that. All the rest of the stuff he just said, that's just talking heads, pushing narratives, pushing, whatever the heck's going to get clicks, likes, and all that other crap like that, or make a, a clickable soundbite that he can, post on his, Instagram reel or whatever, and try to build his social media presence and all that sort of stuff. That's the intent of that statement there. But in regards to, business is performing great in regards to growing that market share, just like he said it was. Now the question becomes, can we turn around those margins and get that profitability moving in the right direction? That's what institutional investors and larger investors are looking at. The rest of that stuff right there is just garbage. And of course, you heard him. He's just kind of talking out of both sides of his mouth. So I don't know where he was going with that. It's just a guy that, I don't know, amped up on too much coffee and trying to make a social media point and just not doing a very good job.
Energy generation and storage? Is it AI expansion? Is there anything positive here other than, oh, by the way, they make the #1 car in the world?
Yes, but they have to keep pace with that growth, right? And they're starting to run into challenges there, both here in the U.S. and in China. And competition is only heating up. There are more and more car makers entering the market. So yes, Tesla certainly has the lead. That's a positive. But there are other car makers hot on its tail. I think.
Funny that narrative still exists. There's no competition here in the U.S. for right now. Just facts. China, okay, I can buy that there's some competition there in China. It's really heating up. Talk about Europe, yep, there's some there too. But we're early in this race, very early in this race. And the lead in the U.S. is huge. But yeah, I wouldn't disagree with the China piece, but of course you got to throw in the U.S. piece and everything else. And that's when you kind of know somebody's just, discussing the general narrative that's out there, that's been out there for years. That time has proven that it's not true. Maybe 4 years ago you weren't real sure, but now I think we all feel very confident that at least here in the U.S., there's nothing coming anytime soon in regards to the EV race.
I'll have to get back to you on Thursday to try to figure out the positives here, because I think the big issue is that Tesla's future, Musk's future, is really uncertain at this point, because if this pay package gets voted down, of course, they'll have to figure out a way to compensate Musk. They'll have to vote on that again. But Musk's reaction is very unpredictable. He's always unpredictable, but we don't really know what he's going to do if that's the case. Keep in mind, Tesla is priced like a technology company, right? Not a car company. Musk says it's an AI and humanoid robotics company. And if he takes some of those projects to some of his other companies, what does that mean for share price? Musk has said he wants 25% of voting control to keep his AI projects at Tesla. I think that there's a lot of question marks about what could happen if those projects start going someplace else. So, definitely a lot of uncertainty. I think the positive is that we'll at least get some questions answered on Thursday, but maybe that's just me taking the easy way out.
Yeah, and it's not good timing. Just because the stock's already been compressed, that's not good timing. Sales have started to slow because people are still turning away from EVs. So,
By the way, the individual that brought the lawsuit in Delaware owns 9 shares.
9 shares.
9.
Yeah. Well, that's what happens. All right, great stuff. Thanks.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and stop that right there and kind of discuss the rest of this here, and I'll talk about exactly what I think is going to happen and all that good stuff. So we'll go ahead and, in regards to the individual with 9 shares bringing the lawsuit about, and they brought it about years ago, this is the problem whenever you get a pay package approved and when you don't do things by the book. What I mean by that is every single large corporation gets tons and tons and tons of lawsuits every year from investors just like that. There are law firms out there that just specifically go after all the large publicly traded companies for every violation you can think of, because in the end, that's how they make their money, right? They just a lot of these companies will just settle. Of course, they take 50%, 60%, 70%, whatever the heck the agreement is with the individual, and they kind of move on with life. This is very, very common. This is also why, in particular instances, you have to cross your T's and dot your I's. If the law says you have to have these 10 things in place and you only have 9, you're at risk for a shareholder with 1 share to be able to get things nullified and taken out. And unfortunately, Tesla did not do that on this first roundup. Now, I don't think they'll ever make that mistake again in regards to that, in regards to anything moving forward with that. But that's where these type things typically are nothing burgers for the vast majority of companies. You don't even hear about them because there's not even a question. It's just, oh yeah, well, here's all the documents. We have teams of lawyers that run through this and comb through this and make sure this is okay. And I think Tesla back then in 2018 ran a little bit more like the Wild Wild West. Elon's not fond of lawyers and other things of that nature. At various times he has obviously violated various SEC rules and the like. So it's not like he's always known for making sure that everything's all good to go on that side of the house there. So that's why your compliance department and your lawyers are so key in corporate America, because I don't know how many, lawsuits, Apple sees or Google sees or anybody else sees, but it's a lot every single year. And the vast majority of them go absolutely nowhere because they typically have all their bases covered 10 times over before they ever go into court and have these sort of things happen here. And unfortunately, Tesla was missing some other things. I talked to some actual folks on Wall Street lawyers that actually were like, yeah, they did a lot of things, not a lot of things, but they had some parts of the equation that they just did not do proper due diligence on, did not do the proper disclosure on. And that opens you up to something like this, unfortunately. So I don't think that'll happen again. Now, in regards to the pay package getting re-ratified, I think it's going to get re-ratified. I just think we're going to get there. I don't think the number will be nearly as high as before, but I do think that it does get approved. We all move forward from that. In the event that it doesn't, I still don't think that he leaves. And a lot of the other threats that he's made, I just don't think they're going to happen in the capacity that he's putting out there. He's trying to win votes. I understand it. I almost view it almost like almost like an election per se. They're going to make a lot of promises, not going to come through on a whole lot of them. That's just kind of part of the cycle, part of what's going on out there. I think either way, whether this one's a ratified or the follow-on is ratified there, it'll be a number that's so astronomical that it'll make sense for him to take it and stay on. And so I don't have a worry there. I think the big contention is going to be that next pay package where it's going to look very, very different than this pay package. And that right there is going to be the bigger needle to thread in the future in regards to that. But I'm not worried either way. I think it gets approved. If it doesn't, I still think he stays and they figure it out in the end. Yes, he'll create chaos. Yes, he'll immediately be on Twitter the moment that the vote is announced, or X, and tweeting out the end of the world and all that other good stuff like that. And I'm sure all the Tesla bulls will all follow as well in regards to that. But I'm not worried about any of it in the end. And if you want to see exactly when I buy Tesla stock, if it dips, if there's chaos, and a lot of other things like that, make sure you check out the pinned comment for my group where you get all my buy and sell alerts in real time. You get my watch list complete with price targets, including Tesla. You get to take 5 courses for free, use our stock analyzer tool for free, get free coaching. You be a part of the best 6, 7, and 8-figure Discord out there. There's so much involved, guys. Check out the pinned comment and see if a membership's right for you. And click this video here if you want to see exactly what I'm buying in this market. And click here to see my exact plan for this market. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.